Does your dog have selective hearing? So say your dog runs out the door and instantly you start calling their name and they keep running away from you. They don't even turn their head. So what do? You keep repeating their name and saying come, and repeating the name and saying come, and the more you repeat, the farther away they get. Or you know your dog knows what sit means. So you're on a walk and you encounter somebody else and you want to stop and talk to them, and you ask your dog to sit and they just look at you and you say sit, sit, sit. And then you finally give up and say to your friend, I know they know this. Of course, you're embarrassed, puzzled, and frustrated. Or your dog is in the yard doing their thing. You open the door to call them, and they don't even flick an ear. And of course, you're either late for work or going somewhere. So you call their name and tell them to come again and again, and still getting no response, on top of getting later and more frustrated by the second. Have you ever thought about why you repeat yourself and raise your voice when your dog doesn't respond to you? We've all done it. So I'm not calling anyone out here, but why do we do it? And more importantly, why do we keep doing it when it doesn't work? That, my friends, is our topic for today. Hi, I'm Amy from How to Speak Dog. I'm a canine behavior consultant and trainer and founder of How to Speak Dog, where I help families living with dogs who struggle to listen learn how to teach their dogs the canine life skills that will improve their dog's listening skills and stop all those feelings of embarrassment, overwhelm, frustration, and worry caused by their dog's bad behavior, without spending hours and hours training or using methods that just don't solve the everyday problems pet parents face today. Since 1983, I have transformed thousands of foster dogs, client dogs, and my own dogs with bad behavior into dogs who listen and respond reliably, no matter where they are or who is there. I'm here to help you transform your dog's behavior too. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the new free training episodes I put out here every Tuesday. Let's get started. I found some research mentioned in an article by Patricia McConnell, the best-selling author of The Other End of the Leash. I'll link to this article below. Anyway, she basically discovered in her research that when individuals are aroused, they tend to use short, repeated vocalizations. Her examples included whines from a needy dog, whimpers from a child upset about something, and our own tendencies to repeat ourselves when we are nervous or stressed. So it turns out the reason we raise our voices and repeat ourselves when our dogs don't respond is because in the scenarios I mentioned earlier, we're stressed. But without the added stress of worrying about our dog's safety when they run out the door, in front of guests or friends on a walk, or when we're late going somewhere, it's still pretty stressful all by itself when our dogs just won't listen, right? In her article, Patricia goes on to talk about vocalizations being more than just an indicator of the user's emotional state, in this case, us, which we will discuss next, followed by why our repetitions and raised voices don't work on our dogs, and finally, what we can do instead. So like I said, from Patricia's article, I learned that vocalizations not only indicate the emotional state of the user, but it turns out humans also use short repeated notes to hurry animals along, long slow tones to soothe or slow an animal, and one sharp sound to stop. I know I'm guilty of all three. And in fact, I teach them in my training programs because they're effective, but only in the right context. For example, I teach that when you're first teaching your dog to come to you and they are headed in your direction, you should encourage them verbally, like, hurry, 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 come on, let's go. Like in this video I'll show you with Minnie.
Minnie! Come on! Hurry! Minnie! Good girl. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Whoop. There she is.
So why doesn't it work all the time to just repeat ourselves and raise our voices to our dogs? It's all about context, tone of voice, and what you want your dog to do. The goal is to get the dog to come to you within reach so that you can gently grab their collar or pet them or just take hold of them. So you want to use an encouraging voice and repeat the praise and encouragement because these are not actual cues to your dog. In contrast, in the same scenario, I teach you not to use your cue word, like come, until your dog is close enough to you that you can take a hold of them or their collar. And I teach you not to repeat the cue, or any cue for that matter, unless your dog is doing the actual thing the cue is telling them they're supposed to do. In the case of teaching your dog to come, if your dog were across the yard from you and you kept repeating the cue, several things could happen. Your dog could completely ignore you, in which case your dog heard the cue word, but didn't respond the way you wanted. Your dog could also turn around and look at you, but still not come to you, which is still not the response you're looking for. Your dog could also turn around and start coming to you, and then veer off before they get to you. None of those things is what you want your dog to think the cue come means, right? You want it to precisely mean come all the way to me and let me gently grab your collar, pick you up, or sit in front of me, or whatever you want it to mean to your dog. The problem is, when you say it all those other times, it becomes like all the other words our dogs hear us say repeatedly and out of context throughout a day, and therefore has no specific meaning or behavior attached to it. So in a scenario when we repeatedly tell our dogs to sit when they're not actually sitting, the word again becomes diluted and doesn't precisely mean what we want it to mean to our dogs. Oftentimes they do eventually sit, but that is because usually in our frustration, we have given them a signal with our hands, like raising them over our dog's head and slightly behind them, or our body language, moving towards our dog, without even realizing it. They are then responding to our signals and not the verbal cue. I have a story for you that illustrates this perfectly. I had a client in one of my group classes, and he came to class one night super frustrated and confused. He told me his dog knows sit and does it perfectly at home, but won't do it anywhere else. Sure enough, he gave her the verbal cue, and she just looked at him. Then I asked him to cue her like he did at home. I noticed that he not only said sit, but also snapped his fingers, actually pointed at her, and even took a step toward her. Guess what happened? Yep, she sat, and he still didn't realize he had done all of those things until I pointed it out. The point is, we do so many things with our hands, our bodies, and our gestures that our dogs respond to, and we don't even realize it. I did teach my client how to get his dog to sit with just the verbal cue, but that's for another episode on another day. That example is also great for showing how many signals our dogs get from us throughout a day that we don't intend for them to get. It also shows that it is possible, and highly likely, that they get messages from us that don't mean what we want them to mean verbally and through our body language and gestures. Which brings me to our final topic for today. What can or should we do to get our dogs to listen without repeating ourselves or raising our voices? I've broken it down into 7 easy steps. Step 1, decide what you want your dog to do. I mean exactly what you want your dog to do, and then give it a cue word. Step 2, figure out a way to get your dog to perform the action without using the cue word, like gestures, body language, and silly sounds, all depending on what it is that you want your dog to do. Step 3, mark the behavior with a positive reaction like yes, or a clicker, or other distinctive sound, the exact second your dog either performs the behavior, for example, when their butt hits the ground in a sit, or when they make progress toward the final behavior. Like a dog who's afraid to get in the car, say, you might mark and reward them for putting one paw into the car, and progress from there, but still not use your cue word for get in the car. Step 4, say your cue word only if they've completed the behavior, not just a step and within a few seconds of the marker. For example, good sit the second their butt hits the ground. Step 5 is to repeat steps 1 through 4 until your dog is anticipating and offering the behavior. Step 6 is to use your cue word once before your dog offers the behavior, and then wait, and wait some more. This is where a lot of people go wrong, but waiting gives your dog the opportunity to think about and learn what you asked of them. If you repeat yourself here, you run the risk of messing up all the hard work you've done up to this point. Step 7 is to reward your dog when they perform the cued behavior and within seconds of the marker. From there, it's all about what the dog training world calls proofing the behavior, which simply means teaching the dog the same behavior in different environments with different distractions. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. Not for today. So let's recap. We've talked about some scenarios where we humans commonly repeat ourselves and raise our voices with our dogs even though it doesn't work. Like when we're stressed or when we're trying to affect our dog's behavior to get them to either slow down, hurry up, or stop altogether. We talked about why we tend to do it, which is because it is natural and automatic for us to use these vocal patterns with animals and other humans. We talked about why it doesn't work all the time in all scenarios, which is because it is only effective in the right context with the right tone of voice and the right intended action. So it does actually work if we do it the right way and avoid doing it the wrong way, because the wrong way tends to confuse our dogs. Then we talked about the 7 steps to make sure we are sending our dogs the messages we want them to get and teaching them the behaviors we want them to perform without repeating ourselves or raising our voices. And always remember, focus on reward and provide opportunities for your dog to practice the behavior you want to see, and eliminate opportunities for your dog to practice the behavior you want to change. If you want to learn more about how to implement these steps with your dog using the framework I developed, I invite you to check out my website, which is linked below. To get started right away, you can check out the mini version of my Power Principles framework, a 1-hour self-paced digital course called From Chaos to Calm. For a limited time, it's on sale for only $17. I'll link to it directly below too. And finally, I'm so excited to announce that I've just created a membership with my partner Linda from Wow Bow Wow that is going to be the coolest place to be on the internet for all of you dog parents living with dogs who are reactive or just don't listen. This month we're starting with a small group of founding members so we can fine-tune it and have it ready for you all later this summer. If you want to be updated on our progress as we go along and be the first to know when the doors officially open, join the waitlist, which I'll link below with all my other resources. As always, put your questions in the comments so I can answer them, and I hope you found this training useful today, and I would love to hear your feedback once you've tried some of these things. I put new training videos out every Tuesday, so if you don't want to miss any episodes, remember to hit like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. I've asked YouTube to recommend the next best video for you to watch, which you can get to right here. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you right back here next Tuesday for our next episode.